kind of dovetailing nicely from the Buttigieg situation, we have a clip here from Morning Joe recently, Atlantic reporter and one of the worst writers, not only because her writing is discombobulated and shitty, but also in terms of the rhetoric and just non sequiturs she uses. She's just an atrocious human being in every sense.
She doesn't have
word.
that big dictation energy.
Ann Applebaum.
Oh, come on, that was good.
From the Atlantic was on with Joe Scarborough and Mina on Morning Joe on MSNBC recently, talking about how democracies die in the modern world.
Please.
And you'll be shocked to hear exactly how she says that happens. So let's let Ann kind of go full on mask off for the left and the establishment mainstream media in terms of how much they really hate democracy, despite how much they say that they're trying to save it.
Yeah, I also think part of the problem is it's true that people, when you say Trump will be Hitler, which is, by the way, not what I said. I just said he's using some of Hitler's language and Stalin's language. People imagine Nazis or stormtroopers or something that just seems so incredible and far away from American reality. And that's true, but that's also because they don't have the imagination or maybe the knowledge to know how it is that democracies break down nowadays.
They don't have the imagination or knowledge to know. In other words, the people that are reading my columns are fucking stupid. And I gotta say, if you're reading Ann Applebaum and you're taking her seriously, she's right about you. Anyway.
Nowadays, most democracies fail not because of violence or a coup d'etat, but because a legitimate elected leader comes to power and then begins to dismantle institutions.
Did you catch that? She said, democracies don't die by coup d'etat, by, I guess in her words, January 6th. They die because legitimate, her word, not illegitimate, legitimately elected leaders. So fucking democracy, right? The people, whether they were bamboozled or not, they said, hey, you're the person I want. I'm checking your name on the box. I want you to hold X position of power. That's what the fuck it is. That's what democracy is, Anne. So if that person does something and then the people don't like it, then they can vote for their opponent next time. And if whatever all of the things you're worried about them dismantling happens, then the next person can put it all back. That's the functional democracy, right? But let's see if Anne saves herself from that flub of a century.
He puts loyalists in the jobs instead of experts. He politicizes institutions that are supposed to belong to the whole nation, like the military or the Department of Justice.
What?
He politicizes institutions for his own benefit. David, where have we...
What?
I've seen that before.
What?
That Leonardo DiCaprio meme. I've seen this one before.
Who did that? Here I come. Or wait. It's that Spider-Man meme too. They're all pointing at each other.
Yeah. Who was the one that weaponized institutions that are supposed to belong to everybody and used it to persecute their political enemies?
Not moments ago, by the way. Who's that one that kind of ginned up an entire population to the point where a crazy person took a pop shot at one of the candidates?
Twice in 2 months?
And who was the side that was saying that the other side was going to do that and then it ended up like their side did it? And who was that was suing RFK in every state they possibly could to tie him up in a legal battle so that his name wouldn't be on the ballot? Who did that? Was that Donald J. Trump using the DOJ? Does he have control over the DOJ right now, Dane?
No, I'm pretty sure it's not him. No, it wouldn't make much sense if it were him, if he was weaponizing the DOJ to go against himself.
So are you saying our new rule can be applied right here? Are you saying that whatever the Democrats accuse the other side of doing, that they actually are? You mean like when they tell me that black people, that they can't have voter registration or licensure or identification cards at voting polls anymore because black people can't get identification cards. They're not smart enough to know how to get identification cards, so we need to help them. And they say they're not the racist ones.
Yeah, it's exactly like that.
Got it.
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah.
I got it. I figured it out. You see, it's that old... You crafty.
Let's see how much more Anne can out her own side in the next minute of this clip.
And makes them serve him and his political program. And, we've seen this happen. I mean, it's what happened in Hungary. It's what happened in Turkey. I saw it happen in Poland.
Go into
where
that,
I lived
please.
part of the time, as you know. And the Polish ruling party at that time tried to do this. They went through the steps. They didn't succeed in doing it fully. And so they eventually lost an election. But,
Wait, what? Is there an echo in here? So
is there an echo in here?
Some people came to power, according to Anne Applebaum, in another country who were trying to do all these bad things, and they didn't accomplish it, and then their opponents won and dismantled everything that they did.
By the way,
pretty sure that's what when we throw around the word democracy, I'm pretty sure that's what we're talking about.
So let me get this straight. And seeing as we are talking about bringing down democracy and Nazism and so on and so forth, so how did Hitler come to power again? What was happening in Germany at that time? A major recession to where money didn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
And then he started saying all the right things. And what environment have they created over the past 4.5 years? Have they helped us out of this? Or are we on the verge of a recession?
Yeah.
By any other name?
By some metrics, we were already in it.
Correct. So, again, I like how they put it all on one dude, but it's taken years to get here. And again, 12 years out of the last 16, you guys have been in power. You've had the majority of the power for the last 16 years. And we're here. I'm just looking at the report card. I'm looking at the actions, and you guys had the fucking wheel for most of that time, and we're here. And now you're saying that it's the American people's fault, or namely one person's fault, that's going to destroy our whole democracy? And who allowed that climate to happen? But they won't talk about that, will they? They'll just talk about him in the last 4 years.
Because what we're learning from Anne Applebaum in this long, winding, incoherent, rambling, diatribe she's got going on here is democracy ceases to be democracy when somebody she doesn't like gets elected.
Boom,
when the will of the people is exercised in a way that doesn't jive with her worldview, or as her and her, legion of nameless, faceless, undeservedly credentialed experts, if they're not the ones holding the reins of power, then it's no longer democracy. Doesn't matter that person was legitimately elected. Again, her words. It's not democracy if the wrong guy wins, according to Anne Applebaum.
It's not as hard as you think to change the rules, to bring in new kinds of people.
You don't say. You don't fucking say, Ann. You don't say.
I got a bug in my ear.
Fuck.
Not hard to change the rules or bring in people to,
or just blatantly disregard them. Just blatantly disregard them and then say, what? I had to do it. He was going to make me.
I mean, absolutely zero whatever. There's got to be a term for negative self-awareness. She's got it.
Jesus Christ. Trump, take the next month off, recover.
Just
let these guys
talk.
just keep talking. Let them keep talking.
Law against media or against politicians that you don't like, to use the IRS.
Go on. Please, don't stop her. She's on fire, Dane.
To use the IRS to go against your political opponents. Anybody remember Lois Lerner, or has that been memory hold?
What?
The IRS chief who was going after conservative and libertarian think tanks and hitting them with removing their 501c3 tax exempt status because they were not sufficiently, regime supportive. That never happened. That never happened.
Don't see anything here, Dane.
Nope.
Let's keep moving on.
Against politicians you don't like. And there are precedents for it in American history, too.
Yeah, there are. All set by your side.
So it's not as if it's absolutely never happened before. So I find all of that eminently believable. But as I said, for people...
I do too, considering you guys did it.
See, as it's happened. You just did it.
You cheered it on the entire way. And then now you're talking about how it happens.
For people who are going to vote for him because of whatever reason, they need to dismiss it, laugh at it, mock it, tweet it with LOL, lol at the top, because they They don't want to admit to themselves what it is they're supporting.
No. You just insulted an entire segment of the American population because they're not voting for your person because it's a joke to them?
And we are dismissing, laughing at, and mocking you. People like you. People who...
Fuck me, man.
Had all of these things happen, and you cheered for it, and or dismissed it and said, it's not that big of a deal. It's not a scandal that the director of the CIA, that the IRS head is literally removing tax exempt status from think tanks and nonprofits that are not sufficiently left wing or regime supportive. That's not a big deal. That's ain't no thing but a chicken wing, according to Ann Applebaum. But when somebody on the other side of the aisle just might do the same thing, again, all speculation at this point, because last I checked, Trump had 4 years to weaponize the military and move against Democrats, to use the DOJ to lock up his political opponents, to use the IRS to go after his political opponents, to do all of these things that have been done in real life by your side. And he didn't do those things.
Not theoretical.
But now you're speculating that he might do those things in the next 4 years. Again, maybe he will, maybe he won't. And if he does, we'll call it out when it happens. But for you to sit there and, clutch your pearls and feign concern over these things that have already been done, we don't have to speculate about what your side did. We could literally point to headlines in the last 10 or 15 years. This isn't ancient history. We can point to the headlines and be like, you did this. Lois Lerner happened under the Obama administration. Biden has been for the last 4 years threatening F-15s for people with AR-15s. The list goes on and on.
And getting paid by another government, by the way.
Using the DOJ to go after his chief political opponent. Not, sending his best and brightest in terms of the Secret Service to protect his political opponent, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, Anne, with all due disrespect, shut the fuck up forever. Signed, Weapons of Mass Destruction.
Can we do that?
It would be nice. It would be nice if we could
take their pens away? Can we, they strike us all the time for misdis mal and it's not even misdis or malinformation. These guys are inciting fucking, I don't know, Dane. Has anything that we said that we know of led directly to anyone making an attempt on another person's life that we know of?
According to Anne, yes.
Well, apparently.
Our rhetoric is dangerous. So
because I know for a fact that their rhetoric has ginned up 2 people to try to take their political rivals' head off. If we don't count the bombs that supposedly were there or not.
Right, at other events, yeah.
And so let's just steel man that part of their argument, because they're already sinking their own battleship with Anne. But my whole point being, it's always crazy. And then, just a little tip of the iceberg too, right after the debate where she said that we have to protect democracy, or Harris, right after the debate, she just can't help herself, has to walk out and stick her foot in her mouth. She said we need to get control of these platforms, Twitter mainly, and what's said on them. I mean, fuck. You don't like the Constitution? It's getting in your way. I think the New York Times wrote an article that said, is the Constitution getting in the way of democracy? I believe that was if it's not, it was the gist of the article. Yeah. They're bold-faced just coming out and smacking you in the face with it. And if you think that you're still right listening to that stuff, then I guess you're just captured. I don't know. Maybe someday you'll wake up and drink the coffee, but it ain't going to be this election cycle. And it won't it be interesting to see all the peaceful protests on November 6th. Yeah. I wonder if they're going to enact any of that deadly use of force against protests against those people.
Just like we told you in 2020, which, you probably already gathered for yourself at the time, when there were all those news reports of people boarding up their businesses and stuff in cities all over America leading up to the 2020 election. And the running joke was, not a joke because it was, serious.
It happened.
Yeah. Is those windows weren't being boarded up for in case Biden won. In other words, it wasn't Republicans and conservatives they were worried about rioting and looting businesses and burning down cities.
We had that summer of love.
Yeah.
We had that summer of love where multiple cities were burned to the ground and multiple buildings were destroyed and families. Yeah, the usual peaceful stuff.
And lo and behold, Biden did win by hook or by crook. And nothing happened. So we'll see 2024. I'll bet you'll see the same headlines again that, businesses are preparing for unrest as a result of this election. And if the results are different this time, if, Mr. Hitler, Stalin, Mussolini, according to Anne Applebaum, wins this election, we'll see how peaceful and loving of Trump's hate the left truly is.
I mean, is it time, Dane? Is it time to just pull the plug on this shit? Not the weapons of mass destruction. I'm sure plenty of people would agree with that. But but I mean, can we finally put this shit to bed? Can this be the last election that we don't have at least 3 parties up there? Can that be? Can we please have at least 3 so that there's some amount of quality control? Because I remember I've been saying this for a couple of years now. You remember when Bush left office? You remember that? And we were like, oh, thank God. The worst, at least we're done with the worst president in American history. And that whole saying, man plans and God laughs, right? It's only gotten incrementally worse since then. And if you think this is as bad as it can get, I'm terrified to see what 2028's election is going to be. It's going to be a piece of toast and a communistic dictator over here. It's like, and if you don't vote for the communistic dictator, you're racist because she's a Indian tribes woman, black African national, whatever she is.
Paraplegic, trans activist,
fucking just
something.
slap all the victimhood just right on there. Yeah. And you have to vote for her. Well,
so, I gotta say, it ain't looking up. Let's hope that there is a modicum of sanity expressed in this election. I wish it weren't like this. I wish we didn't have to vote for our lives to not be, next on the chopping block for being divvied up for whatever it is the people that Anne Applebaum
whatever they have plans for
power to do.
Right.
But that's the world we live in. I'm not going to get into this whole, most important election of our lifetime stuff. Maybe that is more applicable in this one than past elections, but that's so tired.
It's always going to be applicable. It's always going to be applicable now.
That's so tired and trite. I don't even want to engage in it. But however strongly you feel about it, if you're an American citizen and you are allowed to vote here, although, if we play by the other side's rules, all of our friends and family, down below and, in Australia and around the world, you're more than welcome to vote in American elections. The Democrats say it's okay. So, I guess exercise your civic right to make us not have shitty leaders, or as shitty as they
save our democracy, infiltrate us and save our democracy.
I don't know how to tiptoe around this. You know what I'm saying, though. There's clearly a worse choice out of these.
You know what to do. And then I guess, for any voters that are undecided, my if I was Trump, my whole thing would be like, do you really want to associate with them? Do you really want to be on that team? That team that does everything wrong and then never takes any responsibility for it, and then needs everyone else to fix everybody else's problems, but they never fix anyone else's problems. People that think that emasculating men is okay, but over masculating women is okay, making you feel bad about how you feel and how you view the world. That's not a good thing. It's not something that cool cats do. It's not something that cool kids do. Is make people feel bad about their beliefs or personal ideology. But just rambling.
So
anyway, Dave.
Listen, if you take nothing else from this episode, just take this to heart. If you're ever forced to listen to or read Anne Applebaum, or you ever come across a tweet by Pete Buttsex, boom.
It wasn't the last word. We should have said Buttsex.
If then you take whatever they say or write or whatever, whatever message they're conveying, think and do the exact opposite, and you're probably going to have a good time.
And if they're accusing the other side of probably going to do something, just go ahead and bet the goddamn house that they're going to do it. They're going to do it first.